Beverly Hills Cop. Axel F.
Axel. Axel.
Axel.
I mean, it's all uppercase. So I mean, if I didn't know better, I'd assume it was just Axel.
Axel. Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah. It's kind of I'm assuming it's a reference to the theme song, which is titled Axel F.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah.
I, I've heard that song so many times, especially now that I've watched the movie again. I
Yes.
watched this movie, I should say. I never knew it was actually called Axel F.
Yeah. Yeah. The do.
You're gonna get us copyright struck.
Oh, jeez. Oh, darn.
um, but yeah, Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, aka Beverly Hills Cop 4, enters the pantheon of 80s revival projects that are afraid to have the number in the sequence in the name of the movie, probably because they don't want it to seem like you have to watch all the old ones to understand this one.
Correct. Yeah.
John
Well,
Rambo.
yeah. Yeah. I'm trying
I
to
know
think.
there's other examples.
Yeah.
It was all the rage about 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah. Or Star Trek. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They didn't number any of the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies. They're all just Star Trek Into Darkness, Star Trek
Beyond.
uh, Beyond Taste. Yes.
Beyonce. Yeah. 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 Well, to get to this particular movie here, yeah, this is definitely trying to cash in on, or I don't know if they're trying to cash in on the nostalgia bait because this dropped on Netflix.
I'm just going to be honest here. I think if this had gone to theaters, it would have been like we would have been talking about it as a oof, nobody wanted to go see this movie type thing.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
Because it is a very, I would say this is a very safe movie.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, but honestly, if you're in the year 2024 and you want to watch a new Beverly Hills Cop movie after what I understand was an awful Beverly Hills Cop 3, safe is probably the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will say, like, yeah. After I watched this movie, I actually went back and watched the first three. And yesterday was my first viewing of Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Okay.
Um, and I don't think the movie was as bad as everyone was saying it was, but it certainly wasn't a good movie.
So is it kind of a Godfather 3 situation where people can appreciate things about the movie, it just doesn't live up the first two?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so this movie picks up, yeah, in, of course, modern day, where Axel Foley, of course, played by Eddie Murphy, he's still a Detroit detective, even though he's like in his 60s.
Which, let me tell you, like, if you had told me that the character was supposed to be 50, I would have believed it. I don't know if Eddie Murphy is just extremely well preserved or if he had some subtle work done, but he doesn't look as old as he should.
No, he doesn't. He looks good. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, so the movie starts off where he's Axel is he's at a Detroit Red Wings game with another cop, and the only reason he's there is because he knows that the uh, one of the locker rooms, I'm assuming it's the Red Wings locker room, is about to get robbed. They're looked like they were stealing, like, like Stanley Cup rings and stuff. Which, okay, having been a fan of professional sports for a good amount of time, I get let me tell you something. Those guys, they don't go to games with their championship rings. They keep those those are in a bank, in a lockbox somewhere. Like, they don't just go to games with their $50,000, $100,000 championship rings from Tiffany's or whatever. It's just like,
What? You mean to tell me that this movie started off with an unlikely premise?
yes. And hey, Ninja, good to see you.
Hey, Ninja, I was wondering if you'd be here today.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
And I don't know if you noticed, but he has been wrenched. So
Gasp.
yes, I figured it was time for that to happen. So congrats, Ninja. Um,
Yes.
and he says they will go to the games. Yeah. Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, we actually are going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. um, but yeah. So Axel's tried to stop this robbery in the Detroit Red Wings locker room, and then they basically reenact the truck chase from the first movie.
Oh yeah, it had been a bit since we watched that. I hadn't quite thought of it as like a total rehash. I was actually going to give him some credit.
Yeah, I was too, but then when I went back and watched the first one, oh, they're just doing the chase from the first movie. Yeah.
Eh, I'm just immediately thinking to myself as I hear your tone as you talk about this movie. It sounds like the ideal watching order for this movie is to have seen Beverly Hills Cop many years ago, so that this movie seems like a little bit fresher and like more nostalgic than if you're just directly comparing it to the original.
Yeah, I would say that's very true. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, so then Eddie Murphy or sorry, Axel, he gets in trouble with his boss, who's now Paul Reiser, who was in the first two movies. He was his buddy in those,
Okay.
and now he's his boss. And my first thought when I saw that was I thought it was going to be kind of like Top Gun Maverick, with how like Iceman was always bailing Maverick out of trouble. And I think that's kind of what was going on there. Like Paul Reiser was always bailing Axel out of trouble.
Right. Well, this time he went too far, and they want his badge, so he's just retiring to
Yeah,
save Axel.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, Meanwhile, in California, there's shady doings happening.
Yes. We're introduced to Jane, who is Axel's estranged daughter. She's working as a lawyer for this drug guy who's being set up for killing a Beverly Hills cop. Um,
Not Axel Foley, an actual Beverly Hills Cop.
yeah, an actual Beverly. Yeah, 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 and so they're trying to. So she's trying to figure that out, and then she's working with uh, Billy Rosewood. That was Judge Reinhold's character. He was the younger detective of the Beverly Hills police officers, and we find out that he actually left the force because of this because he suspects that there's corruption in the department, but nobody believes him, including his old partner Taggart, who's now the chief of police.
Yeah, and so they have some interesting bits with the daughter, who I'm reminded of when I watched the legendary films Godzilla King of the Monsters movie without having seen the 2014 Godzilla movie, where I gave the movie extra credit because I assumed that that these were characters who had carried over from the first movie, so things that weren't established
Yeah.
would make sense with that context. I just assumed that, oh, okay, I bet that in Beverly Hills Cop 3, Jane was just like a little girl or a baby or something. Nope, new character,
Nope. Yeah. Completely new character. Yeah. Uh,
played by Taylor Page, who looked over her IMDb. I would say she has steady work. Uh,
mhm.
Got her start as a featured dancer in High School Musical 3 of all things.
Mm. Yeah. I can't speak to that because I never saw any of those movies.
I saw the first one because of my sister.
Mm.
I used to annoy her because there are these two characters who are their brother and sister who seem a little too close, and they had this one song, "This feeling's like no other," and then I'd always add, "Even though you're my brother." Just irritated her so much. So that was my revenge for having any knowledge and opinion of a High School Musical. Moving on.
Yeah. Yeah. So
so so the movie from there is Axel shows up, and the threads are he's trying to save Judge Reinhold, who's been captured by the baddies.
Hmm.
Um, he's trying to reconnect with his daughter, so it's a classic Hollywood bad dad story,
Hmm.
and it's the usual. Uh, so I've only ever seen the first one of this, but that movie was like a weird mix of. I kept thinking like Axel Foley is a bard or a rogue because he just like his default motive, like anything, like he never shows up and just says who he is and why he's there. It's always just he's spinning some sort of lie immediately.
Yeah, yeah. Tom Connors over at Midnight's Edge, I think, characterized him pretty well. He's basically a con artist with a badge.
Yep.
Yeah. So he never tells anybody who he really is because probably because it's like, well, if I walk in there and I tell everybody they're a cop, I tell people I'm a cop, they're just gonna clam up. They're gonna be quiet. Yeah.
Plus, at least in the first movie and this one, you only really see him not in his jurisdiction. So it makes sense in when he's acting extra legally in Beverly Hills that he never is upfront about it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, there's even although there's one part in the movie where I think it's the same hotel he stays at in the first one where he shows up there and walks up to the front desk and he's trying to be like he's trying to do this like British accent and he's like, oh, and I'm too tired.
Yeah.
Like,
How much for a room?
yeah. Do you have any rooms? Like, oh yeah, it was like $1,000 a
Yeah,
night, and he's
just
like,
like 900 something a night. Yeah, it's like, man, I love Beverly Hills.
yeah. Well, what's funny was in the first one, the the room rate was like $235 a night, which
Oof, there's your
damn it,
inflation rate.
there's your inflation, yeah.
So I would say that strengths of and actually, this is very much trying to be the first movie again.
Hmm.
It is kind of like Kroger brand Top Gun Maverick in the sense that it's kind of the same movie over again.
Yeah,
The difference was that where there Tom Cruise had kind of it was like addressing that he had gotten older and was getting up there, and this was probably his last hurrah.
yeah,
This one it was more just like, well, here's another adventure, and some people will pay lip service to the fact that he's kind of too old for this, but the thing is that he doesn't look or act like he's too old for this. Like you could totally believe him doing a Beverly Hills Cop 5.
yeah. Yeah, you could because I mean, he looks really good. He doesn't look a day over 50, and he's looked like he was in decent shape. Not
Yeah, like I didn't see any like too glaring stuntmen or anything like that.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, so you got the two weird elements. I kind of got distracted. So the two elements of Beverly Hills Cop are you have sort of somewhat edgy comedy interspersed with pretty brutal action scenes. Actually, when you get down to it,
yeah. They are. Yeah. I will say I think the second movie had probably more brutal action scenes than any of these other ones. Probably because Tony Scott directed that one.
okay,
Yeah. Um, and uh, John Landis directed the third one, which is kind of interesting because he and Eddie Murphy had a falling out after coming to America.
hmm.
But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, it's a very interesting juxtaposition between those two elements of it, where it's very similar to True Lies, where it's like, yeah, you have those comedic elements, but at the same time you get these over the top action sequences, and it's like, whoa.
Uh, this is a plot that you could have totally done like a Dirty Harry movie for, and the tone would just be totally different, even though the actual underlying crimes could be completely identical, and
Yeah,
the ending shootout could be completely identical.
right. Yeah,
It's just Eddie Murphy is the secret sauce to it.
yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about Eddie Murphy himself.
Hmm.
Daniel, how do you feel that he did in this one?
I kind of felt like he phoned it in a little.
Yeah, I mean, when was the last time he was actually in anything?
Well, good question.
I will say, we reviewed a couple of his 80s movies last year, and I kind of noticed that he wasn't really acting with his face at all when he was in his 20s. He
Yeah,
definitely has more range now. That matched my memory of watching various of his movies from the 90s and 2000s.
yeah.
But
Oh, that's right. He did Coming to America, the a sequel to that
I've
one.
I've never heard anybody say anything good about that one.
Yeah, I haven't either. Other than that, he really hadn't done much. Oh, I forgot that they were going to do a TV show of Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
is it incoming or is it fail? I know that there was like one that was caught in development hell.
yeah. It was. I think they filmed the pilot for it, but it didn't get picked up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, moving on through the rest of the cast, his old buddies. I would say if I had a criticism, I wish we had more Judge Reinhold.
yeah, yeah. He's barely in it, which was disappointing. Yeah, because his character was actually really. Trying to think of a good way to describe him. Kind of naive, but but he can be really intense.
Yeah, he was. He kind of was very enthusiastic about this new world of opportunities that Axel was showing him.
Yeah, yeah,
Even if that world of possibilities included a titty bar.
Yeah.
Speaking of, there is nothing nearly that graphic or interesting in this movie.
No,
It,
there
it
isn't.
it is like it's been shot to be mostly TV safe.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think I, ever since like Me Too and everything else, I don't think they really do strip club scenes anymore. At least not
Yeah.
mainstream Hollywood movies.
I would also say a weird thing about the movie is that there isn't really like anybody who I could call like a secondary character. It's like a buddy cop film where he keeps rotating who the buddy is.
Yeah, it's either his daughter or it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, he's an old helicopter pilot who became a cop.
Which they use that for one scene,
Yeah,
which I'll say some of the set pieces were pretty amusing
yeah, yeah,
slash exciting.
yeah, yeah. They were. The CGI was a little rough in a few places, but I mean, I guess that's to be
Yeah.
expected for a
Eh, Oh yeah.
straight to Netflix
Did you
movie.
notice like the bad CGI when he was in the three-wheeled parking meter car, like and he went down the stairs?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, well, I
yeah,
was wondering if that was just me. Like, I actually was questioning myself. Well, is like, do the wheels actually move that way on those cars? I can't say I've ever seen one fly through the air before, so maybe I'm wrong. But no,
yeah,
if you're noticing dodgy CGI too, then
yeah,
um,
uh,
eh, there's a weird romantic subplot between Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character and the daughter, and in two
yeah,
different scenes, they keep making a point about like as soon as he's in the room with the two of them together, um, Axel's like, hey, did you two have intercourse?
yeah,
And another character makes reference to, man, you two just have immediate chemistry with each other. We didn't see it.
yeah, yeah. I didn't see it. Yeah, none of us saw it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was actually it was Serge from the first movie.
All right, I forgot that he showed up again. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that whole scene was kind of unnecessary, aside from it being an excuse to have Serge show up to help out with something.
yeah. That oh no, that was purely a member berry. Yeah. Oh, you remember Serge? Oh yeah, yeah. Remember when and Eddie Murphy they're ad libbing their dialogue? Oh, I remember. I remember. Yeah,
Remember when he had an accent of indefinite origin, but he was definitely gay?
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, it kind of ends in a very predictable way. I almost wondered if they had gotten the same mansion as they shot the first movie in because it looks so similar.
Probably, yeah. They do look similar. Although like mansions like that in Beverly Hills are like a dime a dozen. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, apparently that one back in the one from Beverly Hills Cop 1 sold for like 30 million back in 2009 or so.
mm,
Probably because they could tack on another, few figures by well, this is the one where Beverly Hills Cop was shot.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, they do that with houses and movies, celebrities. Like
Yep.
there are actually a lot of celebrities. They'll make money just like buying a house and flipping it.
Oh, because yeah. Oh, hey, Hulk Hogan lived here for 3 months.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
but
No.
I would say like this wasn't a bad time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. It was kind of like the third movie. I don't think it's a bad movie, but it's really not great. Yeah.
Uh, uh, This one did okay. I'll say there were a couple of jokes I liked. Like, well, they did do one. They were pulling up his file, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like, "You had three different incidents: one in 1984, one in 1987, and then one in 1994. Let's not talk about that one, or
Yeah. Yeah.
something along those lines."
Or it was well, that was not your finest hour.
Oh, that's right. That's what the joke was.
Yeah.
Uh, and then early on, like in the Red Wings scene, probably the funniest thing in the whole movie was him giving the white guy he was with, like, just scared about being called a racist. Like, uh,
Yeah.
what you assume that I wouldn't be a fan of hockey? Well, my grandfather was in the old black league up in Winnipeg.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You call yourself a hockey fan? You don't even know
Oh, you
about that
do.
old league?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's always a problem though when your funniest moment is in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was like that was probably the scene where he was like phoning it in the least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'd say so. Yeah.
I'd say if you're a fan of Beverly Hills Cop 1 and you haven't seen that movie for a while, like again, recent viewers, it's kind of like The Force Unleashed, not The Force Unleashed, The Force
Awakens.
Awakens, Force Awakens, where not having seen A New Hope, shortly before you watch that one would probably help the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It helped with mine the first time I saw it, and then I went and watched A New Hope again and went, oh wait.
This is just a carbon copy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that's everything we need to say.
Yes. Yeah.